Dear friends, welcome to our audio message or audio broadcast. So last time we spoke about Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, text 7, Karpanya Dosho Pahatasva Bhava Prichami Tvam Dharma Samudha Chetaha Yachreyasyan Nishitam Bruhitan Me Shishyasteham Shadimam Tvam Prapanam. So as some of these words are maybe similar to Hindi language, this is Sanskrit, maybe you understand already something. So Karpanya means miserliness and Dosha means weakness. Dosha also means fault. So weakness is fault. Then upahata means being afflicted. And then svabhavaha means characteristic. So Arjuna said, Prichami tvam, I'm asking you. Prichami tvam, I'm asking you. And dharma samudha chetasa, I am bewildered about what is my dharma, what is my duty. Dharma also means religion. Dharma also means fate. So samudha means Arjuna is bewildered. He is a warrior, he is very intelligent, very powerful, but sometimes even powerful people become bewildered, and usually the bewilderment is because of their emotions. So he has been bewildered in the heart. Cheta means also consciousness, but Cheta also means heart or mind. So Cheta has many meanings, the word Cheta or Chetaha. And then he says, Yatreya Syan means what is good for me? What is best for me? So this question Arjuna asks in the Bhagavad Gita actually several times. And it is a very good question to ask. What is best for me? So you maybe ask us, like, there is some success teachers or motivational speakers in India, and sometimes they come from the America or from some other place, and you ask them, what is best for me? How can I be successful? How can I be happy? So Yatreya Syan, and then Nishchitam Bruhitan Me. Nishchitam means confidential or confidently. So tell me in confidence, my dear Krishna, my dear Lord, please tell me in confidence what is best for me. What is all good? What is the best course of action? How can I understand my present situation? I have to fight against my relatives, against my friends, against many people who are close to me. I mean, my teachers also. So we want to look a little bit into this second chapter, which is the summary or overview, we can say, it's of the Bhagavad Gita. And this chapter is called Contents of the Gita Summarized. And so I didn't speak about what is in the first chapter. So in the first chapter, Arjuna is actually making excuses. And we all make excuses. And I have made a whole seminar on excuses, and I'm preparing an ebook on excuses, which will be short ebook, maybe 20-30 pages, with big font, PDF file. And so then I'm giving you some tools how to deal with your excuses and how to eliminate excuses from your life, because excuses are an obstacle. They will not help you to be successful and to achieve results. Okay, so let us see, again, we are doing an overview of our previous talk that I gave a couple of days ago. here for all of you. There is so many of you here. It's so exciting to see so many wonderful friends and devotees listening, and sending your like seen here on the page. So thank you so much. It's very kind of you. So let us go back to the word dosha. In another place in the Bhagavad Gita, this weakness is described as hridaya dorbalyam. So dorbalyam also means weakness, and hridaya dorbalyam means weakness of the heart. So later we will also visit that verse where Krishna is saying to Arjuna, how has these impurities overwhelmed you? They do not behoove. You are not supposed to be like this. You're a warrior, you're brave, you are strong. So how have these impurities overwhelmed you, and why have you become weak? So we all experience sometimes this weakness of the heart due to our material sentiment. Hridaya dorbalyam, and here it is described as dosha. The word dosha, Sanskrit word dosha. And then we are going now word by word in this verse 2.7 in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 7. So what is he now, the last thing that he is saying to Krishna in the last line, Shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapanam. Now I'm your disciple and I'm surrendered to you. And Shadimam, please instruct me. Shadi means just instruct. And very important word, if you want to be successful, prapanam, then you have to surrender to someone who can guide you. Prapanam. And of course in this verse, in the purport, commentary by Srila Prabhupada, there is explanation of the importance of accepting the spiritual master, accepting the spiritual guidance. So I have already spoken about the verse and the purport in my previous class, and now let us continue after this verse 7. And sorry, I will go back to the beginning of the chapter because we started with verse 7, and we don't want to miss something that is important. So after Arjuna has given all his reasons why he should not fight, and expressed his weakness, expressed his bewilderment, and basically he was depressed. And not only this, but his eyes were full of tears. Can you imagine? Huge man, powerful, spiritually, materially, he is crying. He is crying. His eyes are full of tears. He doesn't know what to do. He's in a very, very difficult situation. And now, so this was in the first chapter, and now at the beginning of the second chapter we have that Krishna is seeing Arjuna full of compassion, full of sorrow, his mind depressed, his eyes full of tears, and then Krishna is addressing Arjuna. He's addressing Arjuna. And this is what we have mentioned. He said, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not befitting a man who knows the value of life. So one who knows the value of life is called Aryan. You have heard maybe about Aryan civilization. And the result of this kind of weakness, Krishna says, is that you will not go to higher planets. Whether it is higher planets to go to the spiritual world, or whether it is higher planets in this universe, which are heavenly planets for better material situation, he says these will not lead you to higher planets, this will lead you to infamy. Because it will be a shame for you to not fight. You are a warrior, you have to fight. So it will be a shame for you if you don't do this. And then Krishna says, please do not indulge, do not surrender, do not submit yourself to this degrading impotence. So now I mentioned that we will visit the verse which speaks about Hridaya Dorbalyam, and this is the weakness of the heart. Now in the translation also, Srila Prabhupada, our teacher and translator, he has described this as degrading impotence. No, sorry, no. Weakness of the heart is in the second sentence. No, degrading impotence is something different. Klaibyam masmat. Do not, gamaha, do not surrender to this impotence, klaibyam, to this weakness. Okay, so give up such petty weakness of heart and arise, O chastiser of the enemy. So Krishna is encouraging Arjuna to actually understand his duty and to go back to his warrior mentality, to his braveness, to his courage, and just by words he's trying to bring him back to his senses, to bring him back to a proper state of mind, and bring him back to personal power. But it will not go so easy, and Krishna will need about 1 hour to actually convince Arjuna and help Arjuna to change his mind, to change his attitude. And then in this verse, third verse in the second chapter, Krishna ends his statement. He says, "O chastiser of the enemy." So Krishna is actually a little bit maybe sarcastic here, because Arjuna is becoming weak and Krishna is telling him, oh, don't you remember, I mean, you are a warrior, you have been chastising so many enemies, and now you want to put down your bow and arrow and not fight. So it's not befitting. It's not befitting. So this is the beginning of this, I call it like the ultimate coaching session, where the client, Arjuna, was not actually willing to take action, and at the end he was fully enthusiastic to take action with a new understanding, new perception, and new consciousness. So there is 3 more verses before the verse 7 that we have done already last time, and in these 3 verses Arjuna is speaking. Of course, 7th verse also Arjuna is speaking, and 8th verse Arjuna is speaking. So we will go slowly and do an overview. Now Arjuna is expressing his confusion and his doubts. He says, "O killer of enemies, O killer of Madhu." Madhu is a demon. So Krishna is also using the way to address, Arjuna is using the way to address Krishna and also to indicate Krishna's qualities and Krishna's activities. So Krishna is also a killer of enemies, and Krishna is also killing of demons, and the reason why he is mentioning Madhu is that Arjuna sees his own doubts and confusion as a demon, an internal demon. Sometimes people, when they speak about dealing with their bad qualities, they say, oh, I'm dealing with my demons, with my eternal demons. So Arjuna says, how can I counteract with arrows in battle men like Bhishma and Drona who are worthy of my worship? So Bhishma was also a great warrior, and he was the grandfather of the whole dynasty, and Drona was his teacher. Drona taught him how to fight. So it's in one sense it's a very, appropriate question. These people are worthy of my worship. How can I fight with them? How can I kill them? And he feels so discouraged by this situation where he has to fight his teacher, he has to fight grandfather Bhishma, that he says it would be better to live in this world by begging, become a beggar, than to live at the cost of the lives of great souls who are my teachers. So he has a great respect for the people who are on the opposite side and against whom he is supposed to fight. Now, here Arjuna understands that they are desiring worldly gain. They want to usurp the kingdom. But he says, even though they are desiring these things, they are my superiors. So if they are killed, then everything, what will be left for us? I mean, everything will be tainted with blood. How can we do that? To kill them and then enjoy the kingdom and conquer over kingdom? Basically, he is saying, I'm not interested in kingdom. I'm interested in relationships. I'm interested in showing respect to these people. And now he also a little bit like shaken in he's going back and forth in his mind. And now he says, well, we don't know which is better, to conquer them or to being conquered by them. Because if we killed the sons of Dhritarashtra, why should we live? I mean, we are close with them. And now they are here. So he is not sure what is the right course of action. And that is the principle that we mentioned last time, that the first principle of success is to admit that we need help, we need guidance, we need clarification, we need support, we need encouragement. So he is expressing very openly, this is one of the qualities of a bona fide disciple or a genuine disciple, that he is not hiding from his spiritual master his problems or his confusions or his doubts. He is very openly expressing them to his spiritual master because he trusts his spiritual master. He trusts his guidance, he trusts his knowledge, he trusts his support, and he wants to get help from the spiritual master, spiritual teacher. And at the 7th verse, finally, he is very openly actually expressing that he is confused. And now in the 8th verse, he is speaking about his emotions. Oh, I can find no means to drive away this grief, which is drying up my senses. So sometimes when we are emotionally disturbed, then we feel pain, we feel pressure in the chest, sometimes even the mouth becomes dry, or we have a tendency to not move, or we lower our shoulders. There is, body language shows our emotional state. And Arjuna feels so dejected that he says, I will not be able to dispel this grief. I will not be able to overcome this inner state of mind, even if I get prosperous, unrivaled kingdom on earth, with sovereignty like demigods in heaven. And demigods in heaven they have a huge opulence. So it seems like at this point, for Arjuna, the kingdom is not important, the property is not important, the opulence is not important. For him, it's important what kind of relationship he has with these people on the opposite side. But the point is that these people on the opposite side are completely wrong. They want to do something illegal, even against religious principles, and they have to be chastised. They have to be dealt with very strongly. And now we are coming to a point when Arjuna actually admits completely his weakness by stating, Govinda, I shall not fight. And he stopped talking. He just stopped talking. He was giving some excuses, he was expressing his doubts, he was asking Krishna for help, and now without waiting for Krishna to tell him what he should do, what is the right course of action, Arjuna actually, he put his bow and arrow down and said, my conclusion is that actually it doesn't make sense. I shall not fight. And now Krishna was not at all disturbed with everything that Arjuna said. He just smiled and he was ready to actually to teach him, to enlighten him, and to help him get out of this confusion. So if you want to help people, if you want to help others, then it's very important that you are clear about what you are teaching them and that you are happy and peaceful in your own personal life. If you are disturbed, if you are confused, you will not be able to help others. So you have to first help yourself and then you can help others. Now Krishna is saying, O descendant of Bharata, actually this is just the introduction to Krishna's saying something. This is Sanjaya speaking. So he says that Krishna is smiling, Krishna is not disturbed or confused by Arjuna's words, and then he is addressing Arjuna. He is speaking the following words to the grief-stricken Arjuna. Arjuna, who is full of grief. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. So this is like the first very bombastic statement of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. He says that these bodily relations and what you think is so important based on the skin relationship or material relationship or bodily relationship, this is not worthy of grief. Now Krishna is telling him something that he cannot understand right away. Krishna is just setting the scene for the whole teaching of the Bhagavad Gita, and he's telling him how he sees the whole situation. So to little bit shake Arjuna from his understanding, he says, this is not worthy of grief. And who is wise? He is describing the wise person as one who does not lament neither for the living nor for the dead. Why? Because he understands that everyone is eternal. Everybody is eternal. Nobody will ever die. So he should not worry for these people on the other side. They will not disappear after the battlefield, but they will just change their body. And Krishna also explained, because all these people are actually, or most of them are great souls, they will have a good destination. So this is also another thing. And now Krishna is starting to explain the eternality of the soul. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. In other words, we are all eternal, the enemies on the other side are eternal, you are eternal, I am eternal. These are Krishna's words. And then in the next verse, Krishna is explaining again the nature of the soul and how it passes through different bodies. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. Now this is considered to be the first lesson in the Bhagavad Gita, that we are not this body, and that the body is always changing. So you have heard that even scientists say that all the cells in the body change every 7 years. So basically every 7 years you get a completely new set of elements on, as your body, and your soul is situated within the body. So you have seen your family album, and you have seen that you had a small body when you were small, and then now you have a maybe body of a 30-year-old Indian gentleman, a young gentleman, so or lady, and your body is different than the body that you have had when you were a child, and then when you grow older you will also have a different body, different looking body. So but you as a person remain the same, the soul remains the same. It's just like a change of dress. And then in the next verse Krishna says, O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, a sign of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Now again, at the very beginning, a very powerful instruction of Krishna. He is explaining that happiness and distress in this world are non-permanent. They come and go. As in the year, in any country, you have seasons. You have winter, spring, summer, and autumn or fall. Similarly, happiness and distress are coming and going in this life. This is the world of duality, and happiness and distress are part of that duality. Another duality that we can mention is heat and cold, then black and white, old and young, man and woman, good and evil. So these are all qualities of the material realm, of the material area of life. And where does this come from? This kind of perception of the dualities, it arises from sense perception. Because we have a material body, because we have material senses, we actually experience these dualities. If we would be in our original spiritual body, then we actually would not experience it like this. It will not disturb us, or it will not give us elation or joy or happiness. And the last thing Krishna says in this verse, it's verse 14, is one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Now this is only possible if one has higher consciousness. And this is why we are chanting Hare Krishna, because by chanting the mantra one raises up his consciousness, one purifies his consciousness, and this transcendental sound vibration is actually elevating our consciousness to a higher level, also to a higher level of intelligence, and only on the higher level of consciousness one can tolerate these dualities without being disturbed. Otherwise it's not possible. Even spiritual people get very much disturbed by the dualities of material nature. Some people feel depressed when the weather is bad, but people who are self-realized, who are spiritually strong, they always carry their weather with them, within their heart, within their chest, and they're not disturbed by the external circumstances. So this is actually a very, very important level to achieve, not being disturbed by external circumstances and being always situated in the self and connected to the Supreme Self. By being connected to the Supreme Self. And our last verse for today is that Krishna describes who is eligible for liberation from the material energy and from the material consciousness. he says, he is now, you see, Arjuna is weak, and Krishna is addressing him with the words that are meant to elevate Arjuna, to empower Arjuna. So he tells him, "O best among men." Krishna is telling Arjuna, I still respect you as the best warrior, as the best human being. I still respect you. And this is why I'm trying to explain to you what is happening. I understand that you are bewildered, but please understand that one who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both, he is eligible for liberation. And this is a very important lesson. Very important lesson. So we can look a little bit in the purport by Srila Prabhupada, and because this is such an important level to attain, anyone who is steady in his determination for the advanced stage of spiritual realization and can equally tolerate the onslaughts of distress and happiness is certainly a person eligible for liberation. So, to be eligible for liberation, one has to have determination for attaining the advanced stage of spiritual realization. So it's very important. Determination. So remember that word. We will come back to this many times in the Bhagavad Gita. And now he describes, Srila Prabhupada describes the Sannyas order, but Sannyas is not for everyone. You can practice spiritual life even if you are married. So you can also be a celibate student, but here the difficulty in becoming transcendental is described as the cutting off connections with material relationships, like family members. So one cannot take sannyas if he is still attached to his wife, attached to his children, attached to his family life, his house, comforts in his house. No, sannyasi has to be ready for anything. He is a spiritual warrior, and he understands the temporary nature of relationships, and he moves on with the blessings of his wife. He moves on to actually enter the renounced order of life and to dedicate himself to spiritual practice and spreading the message of the Vedas. So one needs to be able to be detached from the attachment to families, and in the eighth chapter of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Queen Kunti is praying to Krishna to actually cut off this relationships. But it doesn't mean that you don't feel love for your family members. It means that your relationship is coming to another level. It's not only based on the body and on the blood relations, but it's based on the soul relation. So now Arjuna has his duties as a Kshatriya, and Krishna is advising him to persevere, even if it's difficult to fight against his family members or other persons whom he has a close relationship with, who are, in one sense, his beloved persons. So actually, if one wants liberation from material bondage, one has to be very determined to go all the way. Not only halfway, but go all the way to the end. And this is how one can achieve peace and happiness. So this is what I wanted to share with you today. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for sending your messages. And we will continue. I will try to do these talks as much as I can during the week, but I will try at least 2-3 times a week. to speak and share with you my thoughts and understanding of the Bhagavad Gita. And basically what I'm sharing is the version or the teachings of the Acharyas. I'm not giving my own opinion. I'm sometimes just give maybe some personal example, but actually I don't want to change the message of the Acharyas because it's timeless, it's eternal, it's full of wisdom, and it's the best message. There is no need to change it. So basically we are sharing with you the teachings of the Acharyas and our spiritual master Srila Prabhupada, who was also sharing the teachings of the Acharyas, the teachers in the disciplic succession. So this knowledge is bona fide, and you will benefit a lot if you take it seriously and if you try to understand it, and above all, if you try to apply it to your life. If you apply it to your life, then you will experience the real benefit. So thank you very much and have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna.